Hello everyone and welcome to VAB Attribution Outcomes Week. We are excited to have iSpot and Gamut with us for today's session, Unpacking the Efficacy of OTT for Outcome-Based Local TV Advertising. My name is Leah Montner-Dixon, Associate Insights Director at VAB, and I am joined today by Stu Schwartzapfel, Senior Vice President of Media Partnerships at iSpot, and Tracy Will, Vice President of Analytics at Gamut. Hi guys, thanks for joining us today.
Nice to be here. Thanks for having us.
Great to be here, Leah. Thank you.
Absolutely. One housekeeping note, all registrants for this webinar will be sent a link to the recording in a day or so. And before we start off, we just wanted to briefly touch on why an Attribution and Outcomes Week. At VAB, our work always starts with a marketer question, and we are often asked, how do I know if my TV advertising is working? And how can I better correlate and attribute my TV campaigns to business results? To help answer this question, we've partnered with those in our industry who are on the forefront of attribution, and they'll be giving us a look at the work that they're doing to help inspire you and help you to better gauge the impact of your campaigns. So with that, I'll hand it off to Stacy and Stu and Tracy.
All right. Thank you so much. It's so nice to be here. Thanks to the VAB for hosting us, and thanks to our partners at Gamut for collaborating with us on this. Once again, I'm Stu Schwartzapfel. I lead media partnerships at iSpot. And what we're here to really talk about today is local OTT measurement. And, we think that that's a pretty novel topic that doesn't get as much attention as it deserves. For a handful of reasons, and we'll get into that throughout the presentation. But in terms of what we're going to cover today with my partner in crime, Tracy from Gamut, is how I can measure OTT conversion on a local basis, and how I can scatter that across a number of different types of retailers and different advertiser categories. And we're not talking about the Pepsis of the world here. We're talking about more local and more regional advertisers. And then what the innovations are in how we measure local OTT, and the challenges that we face in being innovative to do this kind of work. So really unpacking and getting under the hood on how we tell an advertiser on a local level how their cross-platform investment is actually translating to foot traffic. So that's what we're going to be covering today, and we're excited to do so. So, Tracy and I are not here to kind of rehash all of the statistics and business truths that you guys already know as industry professionals, but in setting up the conversation, we thought it was pertinent maybe to just remind and provide a few fresh statistics as it relates to OTT advertising before we even get into the local aspect. And we all know what's going on with OTT. It's exploding. It's everything that everyone's talking about, whether that be from an AVOD standpoint or just from an original content standpoint. More and more platforms cropping up every day with their own unique and original programming for people to watch on an AVOD or SVOD basis. But I think we also know that there's a disproportionate relationship between how much OTT content is consumed versus how many ad impressions are being served within OTT environments, right? They are not on par with each other. They're not apples to apples. The ad impressions have a bit of catching up to do. The stats that you see on this slide were actually generated by iSpot based on our panel of clients who allow us to pixel their creative for various cross-platform measurement reasons. So I think if you looked at other data providers, you'd see a similar disparity. Tracy, I'm super curious on your thoughts on this.
Yeah, across the board, we know that the consumers are there, and we've stopped asking the question: is there enough? Is there enough room for this advertising? And we're able to start answering that question by saying, how unique is our advertising, which is really, really great. There's still a big difference, as you say, in how many people are watching and how many ads are actually delivering. As that gets closer and closer together, we're just going to have more and more more and more statistics to talk about that are on the ad side, rather than just to verify that the eyes that we know are already there are there.
Yeah, absolutely. And Tracy, I would be curious what you think. Like, do you think there's like a particular time horizon where maybe where this delta will start to really narrow? Are we talking 1 year, 2 years, 3 years? What are your thoughts on that?
I think we're getting ready to hit a bit of a point where we begin to kind of steamroll, because we have now the measurement to show what you chose to buy, which might have been a small portion, to reach these consumers in streaming is unique. We're reaching beyond linear. We're getting to new viewers, and because we're able to prove that, that gives the buying community the confidence to move more and more media here. So I think that gap will close pretty quickly. I can't say whether I don't think it's 3 to 5 years. I think we're going to close it more quickly than that. And the one thing that I can say for sure is that this year will move a lot faster than last year did, because last year moved a lot more quickly than the year before. So I believe that trending is going to continue, but when it'll happen, I don't know. I just know it's gonna pick up speed and continue to do that.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense and it's super interesting. And as we continue to talk about OTT and its growth and popularity and audience adoption and interest from brands from a media investment standpoint, I think we'd be remiss to not mention that there are challenges from a measurement standpoint in doing cross-platform. I mean, it's kind of like no duh, right? There's so many trade publications that cover innovations in OTT measurement every single day of the week, and I think that's reflective of how difficult it is and how innovative and forward-looking this measurement really is. When you look at linear has so much legacy behind it, right? How many years has Nielsen been, helping people transact on impressions from their audience-based panel, right? A long time, 50 years, I don't know, more than that, right? Digital doesn't have that legacy, and cross-platform specifically as a measurement discipline does not have that legacy. And when you look at some of these challenges that our friends at Advertiser Perceptions were able to generate by way of their proprietary video advertising convergence survey from last February, we can see that there are 3 core challenges: lack of standard measurement, managing deduplication, managing ad frequency capping. Tracy, what do you think? Are they on point with these challenges? Is that kind of what you're seeing in how you interact with your clients at Gamut?
Oh, sure. We've seen a lot of improvement since we started working in the streaming space. When we started, I come from digital all the way back to 99. So when I started understanding the linear data, and then when we started working on streaming, to be at that starting point where we didn't have good matching and we hadn't even really kicked the tires yet as an industry, that was a tough place to be, because I was so accustomed to all that you could do with a cookie, which we won't cover that today, but it's come such a long way. But sure, we're not there yet. I can control what our universe in terms of measurement does, and every vendor can control theirs, but especially as a whole, there's still work to be done. But I mean, I'm really proud of how far we've come and how fast we've come to where we are. So yeah, but it's still challenging, no doubt.
Absolutely. And do you think, because when you think about linear, when you look at that first challenge around lack of standard measurement, the notion of a single currency has been something people have been so used to on the linear side, but that's never been true on the digital side, right? There's never been one currency on the digital side. So when we think of lack of standard measurement, I think as it relates to cross-platform, I would say that's both a challenge and an opportunity, because publishers and networks don't like being strong-armed, right? And don't like to believe that there's only one option as far as how to guarantee impressions or how to guarantee performance, right? And cross-platform presents this opportunity to have multiple currencies operating within the space. And, maybe some currencies shine in certain areas while other currencies shine in other areas. And that ability to be versatile and well-rounded and to facilitate fair competition from a measurement standpoint. I know the VAB is okay with that, wink, wink. But Tracy, I'm curious on your thoughts.
Yeah, I always say, and I actually am kind of tired of hearing myself say it, but it's still true. And as we get better and better at this, it becomes more and more true because we have more and more options. But we always need to look back of what the objective of a campaign is, because especially even in local, you can have today we were talking about a campaign. Is it the cost per sale that we care the most, or the volume of sales? And it's probably, from the business owner standpoint, the right mix of both. And so we need to always stop and then think about the very campaign that we're talking about, the very business owner that we're talking about, and what that goal is. Because as we do get better and better at this, we're going to have a lot more options, and we just need to make sure we're getting it right for our customers. So that's the way I think about it. And I can especially think about it that way now that we are having more and more options. 3 years ago, we had to stick to a couple of familiar things, but we're able to get a lot more creative and a lot more relevant now.
That's great. When we think about kind of these challenges that OTT provides, it's usually people think about it on a national level, right? But when you start to think about OTT and cross-platform in harmony with one another, it really presents some challenges as far as how we measure. Like, local is hard enough to measure on its own for linear, right? And cross-platform is also hard enough to do against national inventory. But now we're merging these two things, which presents some challenges and also some opportunities to be innovative. And we work with third-party data providers to facilitate different KPIs that our customers are attracted to. So in this case, Gamut was attracted to retail visits. We work with PlaceIQ, who we believe to be a leader in the geolocation space, who provides us with all of our geolocation data and all of our retail visit data that Gamut is able to benefit from as a customer of iSpots and as a partner of iSpots. And having that sort of third-party data allows us to execute this type of a use case. But again, even with all of this innovation in how we measure and with really innovative third-party data from companies like PlaceIQ, it's still super challenging, right? And Tracy is up against this every single day of the week in managing thousands of campaigns for her customers every year. And, Tracy, I'd love to have you provide a little color on what you're experiencing here.
Sure. Yeah, especially at a local level, as you say, we need to make sure that we're in the weeds. We need to make sure that we're matching the impressions for linear, matching the impressions for the OTT devices. And then that's one thing. So now we have reach and frequency covered, and then to expand that out to something farther down the funnel, when we're talking about visits to stores, now we need to take that and match that up against devices that are on the same IP as a television, a linear, a streaming device, and then that mobile device. So now we need to get down even farther and make sure that we can do it for our store owner in Paducah. So it is really tough. Combining both the measurement challenges and the local challenges is tough, but we're making it happen. So we're really
Absolutely
proud of that.
I mean, we're really making it happen, right? Because I think all of us, media professionals, I don't know about you guys, but I usually start my day reading all the different pubs and perusing headlines, whether it be from Ad Age or Synopsis or, TV Next, whatever. And there's always countless headlines about this company partnered with that company to do this innovative thing in measurement, right? You could spend all day reading those partnership announcements. I think what's rarer is when those announcements have real substance behind them. And I'm proud to say that this is one of those partnerships. This is not just a PR announcement. You are looking at the volume that we're dealing with in measuring with Gamut today. This is not something that we're planning for. It's not a minimum viable product. It's not a pilot program. This is how much work we've done with them in just 1 year of being partners. So I know I'm super proud of that. iSpot is super proud of that. Dealing in this kind of scale for such a nuanced type of measurement for local cross-platform, really, really, really impressive. Tracy, would love to get your thoughts as well.
Yeah, we are so proud of how much we've been able to do here. It's continuing to grow. We have over 3,000 campaigns measured with that household reach and frequency. And now that we're expanding into the store visits, we have over 500 million impressions that we're measuring in store visits. So we are doing it at massive scale. I mentioned earlier that the first thing that we do when we're vetting a vendor is ask them how they do local. And this is a great example of how local is done well.
Absolutely. So it's always great to bring some of this stuff to life with actual case studies and examples. So while we can't share actual names of the clients in respect to their privacy, we can kind of anonymize those things and share them out nonetheless. So let's do that. And I will pass the mic to Tracy.
So yes, Stu, as we have moved into store visitation conversion data, we have a few examples of interesting data that we can pull from this partnership. So this is an example of what we might do with a QSR client. This is a case where we wanted to drive an increase in store visits. It had a target. This one was unique in that we were targeting QSR intenders along with a demo, and the results here were super interesting. We're able, because there is so much data, thank you very much, we're able to benchmark the QSR category. And against that benchmark, we were able to say that the results here, this particular client's conversion rate was 20% higher than what we saw among that clients' peers in that category. And then we, of course, have an overall metric for the entire lot of those 500 million impressions that are driving visits. And that is it's a overall benchmark. And this particular client was 91% above that benchmark. So our clients always want to know how they're doing against their peers and against the benchmark for the product. This allows us to see that. We're also able to compare it to linear. And so we're able to guide our clients in an optimal frequency for OTT. And in this case, we saw that 14 was the optimal frequency to drive a QSR visit for this client. That helps us make the campaign even better. So this sort of insight is invaluable for our clients that could consider their KPI to be a visit into a local location. Similar, this is a grocer. Naturally, a grocery business is going to have slightly different nuance than a QSR. And depending on the local markets, it can be different as well. This one, the measurement is similar. The results were very different. So we saw 191% above the category benchmark for this particular campaign. And this is based on a lot of data. The grouping for the grocery category was robust. And we were able to show them that their cost per conversion was also roughly 65% lower than their peers in that category. So that's valuable data for this particular client. And then this one provides a little insight. So we talk about the nuance of local. A furniture business has a very different type of customer than does a QSR client. So we need to make sure that we're targeting the right people, that they're actually going to go into a furniture store. Here we were able to demonstrate success on that. We were also able to give them some insight because iSpot helps us to break this down based on a look back window. So we can see the difference between 7 days after the impression was served, 14 and 30. Here we saw that between 7 and 14 days, we were relatively flat. But when we got to that up moving between the 14 and the 30-day mark, we saw growth in that foot traffic of 150%. So that's valuable for them to know when they're buying. And it's valuable for us to know because we can help inform their future buys with this data. So again, just great information coming from this partnership with iSpot and the way that we've organized the data and put it in our dashboards.
A lot of really excellent information you shared. Before we get into some questions, we just wanted to remind everyone that at VAB, we are here to help. And we have, this is just a couple examples of some VAB content that shows how brands are linking their multi-screen TV campaigns with KPIs like incremental reach, awareness, website traffic, in-store foot traffic, and revenue. So in proven strategies and tactics in audience-based TV buying, we shared case studies of how 23 brands have successfully used an audience-based TV buying approach to reach their KPIs. And in Do the Right Thing, we share how campaigns that embrace diversity and inclusivity ultimately bring about business outcomes for brands. And as a reminder, VAB members, brand marketers, and agencies get free and immediate access to VAB's content library where all of these reports live. So simply sign up on our website, thevab.com. And coming this Thursday, our latest marketer's guide will be released, The Secret of My Success. Learn the winning marketing strategies of 30 of the fastest growing brands, such as Babbel, Ring, Wayfair, Warby Parker, and Hims. And you'll see how their innovative TV buying approach is expanding their customer base, increasing website traffic, and driving revenue. So now it looks like we have some time for a couple questions. So I'll just start it off. First question, thinking about local, how local can you get with this measurement? And either one, whichever wants to take it.
I can take that. We can get very local. We talked about Paducah earlier. We can get very local with these. It's important to us that we're honest about when it's too local. There are still some corner cases where maybe the measurement is just, the data is just a little bit too small. Maybe Harlingen, Texas, maybe not. Depends on the overall buy. It depends on the KPI. With the household reach and frequency, we're very local. And with the store visitation, we're very local as well. But we will let our clients know when something is a little too small and we might need to roll it up to the region, or we might need to add a little bit of volume to that line in order to get to stability. So our goal is always to get there. And sometimes it just takes a little bit of wiggling around the buy in order to get it to the place where we can give them stable data that informs their decisions.
Thanks. And let's have one, or we'll just have a second question. What specifically makes this measurement unique or different?
Yeah, so I think I can take that one. So I think it's, you know, it's cut from the cloth of what Tracy and I were touching on earlier in the presentation. You know, when you look at any one of the elements of the type of measurement that we're doing on its own, it's seemingly familiar, but when you merge those elements is when it becomes unique and interesting. So, you know, I think the space that Gamut operates in is a nuanced and specific space. There are a few big players other than Gamut that are doing this type of stuff at scale from a local OTT standpoint. Of course, I'd like to believe that Gamut's doing it best, but when you look at what they're actually doing, right, again, 3,000 at a scale of 3,000 campaigns a year that are all local, being measured on a cross-platform basis, and now adding this additional element of conversion to foot traffic, Like these are all, every time you add a variable to a measurement equation, it makes it more difficult. Variables are what makes things more complicated. So I think, you know, you have 3 different companies in the mix, right? You have Gamut, you have iSpot, you have Place IQ. You have a multi-step measurement process that involves doing overlap analysis with our panel for different types of attributes. It all has to be statistically significant, right? Like Tracy said, sometimes the campaigns are too small. And, you know, Gamut's making it work and is succeeding with it. And I believe that clients are getting a lot of value from it and they're coming back for more. And that's really all that we can hope for.
Great. Such a nice partnership between the two of you guys. And final question, what does it take to add foot traffic attribution tracking to my media plan? And how can you track all of my locations?
Yes. Oh, do you want to do it, Tracy?
Sure. We have on every single campaign, we have worked out a really nice process with the iSpot team. So the tracking exists for household reach and frequency on all of our campaigns, every single one. And it's in our dashboards in real time so our clients can see it. When we add in visitation data, we do take a look at what the feasibility is going to be for each of those store owners. So that way we're sure that we do have feasibility across all the local stores. And really the work is on our side. And then we come back to let you know if something in particular won't hit feasibility. And then we talk about how to help you get there.
Okay, awesome. Thank you. And thank you, Stu and Tracy, for joining us today, sharing these great learnings. And thank you to all of you for watching. If you haven't yet, please join us for the rest of VAB Attribution and Outcomes Week. You can sign up for all of the sessions on our website at thevab.com. So thank you, everyone, and have a great day.